Welcome back to ThriveX Own Your Success interview series, where we deep dive with inspiring individuals who have made it and explore what it took to get them there. This time we're talking with Sophie Chen. Hi, Sophie.
Hi.
Sophie is a recognized hospitality leader with over 25 years experience, working with Fortune 500 companies, luxury hotel and casino operators like Sands China, Wynn Resorts, Marriott International, and Mandarin Oriental, which is my personal favorite amongst that list. At different stages of her career, she was managing up to 700 people, multiple properties, large-scale operations, and always working in fast-paced, challenging environments. These days, Sophie is really passionate about helping women thrive in this male-dominated industry of hospitality. So I've decided to offer my platform to her, ask her a few questions to really talk about what it took, what she learned on her journey to the top, and what advice she might be giving out to anyone really looking to, create a fulfilling and long-term career in hospitality. Sophie, I hope I've done your incredible achievements justice. Maybe you can do a quick self-intro and fill in any gaps that I might have missed.
You have done it tons of justice. Thank you very much. I'm Sophie. I am I was going to say a hotelier who coaches, and then I realized the term hotelier actually refers to someone who actually owns a hotel. But anyway, I don't own a hotel. I'll call myself a hotelier anyway. I've been in hospitality for 25 years. Started off working with hotels and eventually ended up with the integrated resorts, aka the casinos, because technically they're not just casinos, they are integrated resort. So that was my last role with them. And in hospitality, I've always been in food and beverage, but then I also kind of weave in and out between food and beverage operations and also learning and development. So I guess I somehow have knowledge in both areas. I can jump into operations at any time, and if you want someone to do learning and development training or facilitation, so I do that too. So it's always been like this in and out, and now, like you said, I am a coach. It's a whole new path, and I'm still learning.
So how did you get your start in the world of hospitality?
A friend of mine, his brother was in hospitality, and he went to a fancy hotel school in Switzerland. He was always telling me stories about what his brother was doing, and his stories kind of like inspired me. And after secondary school, I went to my parents and said, look, I want to do hotel management. And they were like, typical Asian family, right? The kids should be studying accounting, law, be a doctor, engineer, those typical careers. And I said, I don't have the brainwave to be an engineer, a doctor, an accountant. I said, I'll maybe slide down to the other spectrum of things. So anyway, I decided to study hotel management, and I stuck with it.
Interesting. And what about in those early days of hospitality, once you had your training? What was it like? Or what were those sort of early lessons you learned about what it takes to build a career, especially in the early stages in hospitality?
Well, I learned it the hard way, obviously, and I started way right at the bottom. Right, my first job was a hostess, and then I was thinking, oh my God, this is really tough. What did I get myself into? Right, I mean, long hours, standing on your feet, dealing with customers day in, day out, and it was tough. It took a lot of hard work, and tenacity. And especially in food and beverage, right? It was very male dominant at that point in time. Now, not so much, but it still is. So you constantly have to kind of prove yourself, like, hey, if you can do it, so can I. So it was always challenge, trying to push myself, trying to push the bar higher and higher and higher, because I believe if I really know my stuff, no one can come and tell me otherwise, right?
So how is it that you ensured that your work got noticed? Because that's important, right? You can work as hard as you like, but if the boss doesn't see you doing it, it doesn't get you promoted. So how is it that you made sure that, your work got recognized?
I wasn't on some kind of a fast track or anything. I guess we can talk about it later. It just happens. For instance, my first role. So before I spent some time in Malaysia working, and my last job in Malaysia was a lecturer. I was lecturing hotel management in a hotel school. And then I left to go to Macau, right? Las Vegas of the East. It was really exciting, blah, blah, blah. So my role then was food and beverage trainer. And then eventually, a year or year and a half down the road, there were more and more sort of integrated resorts opening and people sort of jumped ship. And so our F&B department, we had sort of 3 guys running it. They all ran across the street and it was just, there was no one else. So when I said by default, you know, I guess the director looked around and said, oh my God, who's going to do this? Oh yeah, there she is. She can do it. She's always had F&B background and, you know, we don't need the trainer at the moment. So let's pluck her out of her position and put her there. So it happened by default. And I guess in order for that to happen too, you have to, again, be really good at what you do, right? You need to know your stuff. Nothing gets dropped on your lap, right? There's no free lunch. You got to work for it. So the other thing as well is you got to be vocal. I was told I'm too vocal, but you have to be vocal, right? You have to state what you want. You really need to put yourself out there because like you said, if no one notices you, you can work as hard as you want and you'll be working very hard for the rest of your life because no one is going to see you. So visibility is definitely very important. And I guess sort of positioning yourself as well. You know, like what do you have that other people don't have?
Do you remember a time in your career where you felt particularly vulnerable, particularly in the later stages of your career when you were working in more senior management and taking on big roles and responsibilities? Do you remember a time when you were really feeling vulnerable and exposed?
I would say it wasn't towards the later part. It was probably the initial part. The biggest role I've ever done was I ran a restaurant of 100 seats with 8 people. And then this new role that kind of dropped on my lap requires me to run 6 food and beverage outlets with 300 people. And I'm like, do I want to do it? Do I not want to do it? Do I want to do it? So there's this whole lot of chatter going on in my head. I've never done it before. And I look at the management team of food and beverage and they were all males, right? There was no female. And I go, do I really want to go into this playing field where it's not really leveled? But lucky for me, my colleagues were really supportive. It was never easy because people were looking at you, right? They were always waiting for you to make a mistake or fail or whatever. But I guess tenacity as well is important.
In terms of that, I love that thought of that inner dialogue going on. No, I'm not good enough. Yes, you are. You can do it. How did you silence the inner critic and really focus on your inner champion and make that decision to do it?
With a lot of hard work. I mean, you really have to consciously quiet down that critic, right? Is there a magic pill you can pop in and it will go away? No, it's you constantly have to work on it. And one of the things I find that worked for me was I try and play to my strengths, right? And till this day, I write things down. And I always believe if you can see it, you can fix it. So I would do a list of strengths. I would do my strengths inventory. And then I also list down what I'm not so good at. So now it's visible, it's physical, it's tangible. I can see it, right? So if I'm not good with time management, for example, all right, what are you going to do to fix it? And that's for me is, I guess it's a work in progress. I mean, no one is ever perfect. You learn as you go, you fall flat on your face, you pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and off you go again. And also, I think it's important to surround yourself with people who believe in you, right? Have cheerleaders. It could be anyone, could be your friends, could be your colleagues, could be your spouse, your family, but have those people to cheer you on. And we're having a crappy day. I mean, those are the people you call on, right?
In hindsight, 25 years later, what are some of the things that you wish you had done earlier to sort of fast track your career? What are some of the things that you could tell your 25-year-old self, hey, don't waste time on that, do this? What would you tell you?
Yeah, it's a very interesting question. I'm not sure if I want to fast track it, in all honesty. I kind of like the way that my career panned out. I literally climbed rank by rank, right? I didn't really jump. I guess the one biggest jump was when I came back from the States when I was a server and a hostess. And I got transferred back to Malaysia and I got to me then, it was a big role. I was an assistant manager of the California Grill, right? It was like the signature restaurant. And that for me was the biggest jump. But thereafter, it was really, I climbed it rank by rank. I liked it because then it gave me the opportunity to really kind of learn If I were to do anything different, I think one thing I would have liked to do was maybe to get myself onto some kind of a management training program where things are more structured and, you get the whole package, right? They put you through, this is what you need to do. They teach everything from operations to management and finance and what have you. And then a year and a half, 2 years, and then you end up with a role with the company.
What advice are you giving to women, to the leaders that you're working with?
I would say to be brave. Be brave and speak up for yourself. And I think many times the women that I work with always feel that they're not good enough, right? They're not deserving, or they're not ready of whatever is coming next. And I think they really need to consciously tell themselves, look, I need to do this. Because if I don't toot my own horn, or I don't put myself up there, no one else is going to do it. So I think when you're 80%, you're good enough to go. Yeah. And if you're a person who have high standards, your 80% could be that person's 150%.
Yeah. Cool. Well, we're getting towards the end of our discussion. Sophie, is there anything else that you wanted to sort of share about your career journey? Some sort of, pearls of wisdom that can help the people listening along?
It would be toot your own horn. Toot it as loud as you want, because if you don't advocate for yourself, no one is going to do that for you. And I think for women who are listening right now, I would maybe suggest this as a stretch assignment for you, right? Go out and tell people what you've done well and what you've done good and what your achievements are. It's really not bragging. It's facts, right? Bragging is something if you blow something out of proportion, but if you have in actual fact achieved certain things and you're good at it, so why not tell people?
Well, this is the point where I now like to do a little wrap up to sort of date my keys away. I usually am writing like a crazy person with notes, but Sophie, I've been mesmerized by your voice today, so I'm going to have to go off.
Thank you.
Go off my reflections, but I think it really started at the beginning where you really followed your heart, and I think that's the start of any great career, is having that determination to sort of know what it is that's going to work for you and not what other people want for you, and go after it, and making those opportunities happen for yourself, despite, what your people and community were saying around you. And in doing so, you seem to have, inspired members of your family, and you've gravitated towards other people in that industry, which really shows that, you're working in a space that is true to you, and really matches the sort of person that you are. And the person that you are is one of great resilience, and that resilience has really served you throughout your 25 years in the hospitality industry, which is tough, which is grueling, which is indeed typified by hierarchy, but sort of going in there and sticking it out, and also putting yourself forward for challenges. And when those opportunities came to you, that enabled you to acquire the necessary skills, demonstrate very visibly and unequivocally that you are the person for the next job. And I think that is something really important, that, resilience is a really valuable quality, and it can really, make the difference between someone that makes it and someone who doesn't. Coming again, right, to the sort of, also your mantra for your career is that it's not a race. Enjoy every role that you take, and take every lesson that you can. And you will bring that forward into your next role and ensure your success in that. So don't feel the need to fast track. 25 years later, you'll be proud of everything that you've done. So just make sure that you're moving forward, make sure that you're learning and growing. And that's all that you need to be worried about. And to all the women out there, make sure you self-advocate. Sophie and I are both #IamRemarkableConvert. So we know the power that self-promotion can bring. And Sophie has taken this opportunity to remind everyone again that unless you self-promote, unless you talk about what you've achieved, no one's going to do it for you. And in order to get promoted, you need to be visible, and the people in power, the people in influence, need to know what it is that you're capable of. And unless you tell them, no one's going to tell them. So don't be afraid to do it. And again, it might be uncomfortable, it might be weird, and you might feel stretched, and let's face it, no one likes doing it, but you have to do it. And if you want to get ahead, self-promotion is a really key element of that. So thank you, Sophie. Thank you so much for sharing all of that with us today. So many things to learn. And again, right, we really appreciate you sharing that with us. So wish you all the best.